So as the title of this video suggests, the videos on this channel and in this series specifically are going to be focused around going fast for dummies. And pretty much what I mean by that is basically how to pick up, semi-built race cars or half-built race cars or just any sort of cheap buy you can get and getting it to go down the track in a, impressive and competitive way. Without really breaking the bank with stuff like, like a $8,000-$10,000 build. All of these builds that I'm doing, I'm pretty much trying to keep within the budget of $8,000, $8,500. So, obviously this is what we're gonna start out with, building these types of cars. I would love to up the budget and build some real serious stuff, but my real goal is to try and build 9-second cars, 10-second cars, stuff that could, compete in bracket racing for this low price and show you how I'm doing it. So the first, series that I got here with me and my buddy is an old circle racing street stock. Now, I figured that you go and you buy a car like an old street stock, you can usually get them with decent transmissions, TH400, C6, something like that. In our instance, we got an FMX with a performance rebuild, which I feel is pretty rare. And you usually also get a pretty solid rear end. In our case, we have a Ford 9-inch out back, which is, tremendous. And in addition to that, if you're able to, a lot of the times the motors these guys got are really capable motors that are tuned down or controlled for, to account for street stock racing. Now, I'm not saying that to do this, you have to build a street stock into a drag car at all, but I'm saying for us, we found success here by getting this car because it's already got the cage, the trans, good rear end. We bought the motor with it and put it in, and it's all good. And, that gave us the bones to build what I'm hoping is gonna be a 9-second race car. Now, doing this, like I said with the motor, you could throw any motor up in there. Let's say if you get one of these old Monte Carlos and, the guy has a 350 in it, if it was me from the perspective of this series, you could do something like throw a 396 in there, throw a 327 in it and really build it up and, go above and beyond, the types of engine builds that they do in these circle track builds. Now, the reason why we bought this guy's motor from him in particular is because he had a 351 Cleveland motor. Now, in general, it's a pretty rare high output motor from the era it came out because it came out right around the time that all the emission standards were coming in for vehicles, and Ford figured that, you pretty much can't build this motor to the standards of these new laws that are coming out. So it disappeared, and it has a very short run, but if it had a ton of high output potential, and even in stock form had tons of high output potential with the 351 Boss, and then, other iterations that would utilize these heads. Now, the motor that we got is a 2V or 2 Venturi engine with 2V heads. This is to stay legal with street stock racing and is the lower performance version of that motor. But what I was able to do was get on Facebook, and me and my buddy went out a far way into Pennsylvania, and we picked up some 4V closed chamber heads. Now, the big difference between the 4V and the 2V is the size of the intake runners and the quench combustion chamber. Now, the combustion chamber on these 4V heads is small and made to produce a ton of compression. The stock rated compression is something like 10.5 to 1, which people I've seen online say the actual compression is a little bit lower, but we're gonna be cutting these heads, so we are gonna be getting that compression out of this. And if you look at the intake runners on these heads, they're bigger than some big block intakes. If you look at Fuelie heads, they're bigger than that. They're bigger than 350 small block heads by a long shot. And usually when when you're going to make a build like this and you want flow like that, you're spending $1,000, $1,500 on some trick flow heads, something like that. I was able to, get a pretty solid deal. Usually you can't find a deal like this with these types of heads, but I got them for $450. A lot of guys want $1,000 for them for the old cast iron ones, which is what I got. But I was able to, really do some search, and we found them for $450. And the goal with that is put them on the Cleveland, which already can rev up to around 6.5, 7K. And this motor in particular, which this is something I forgot to mention also about buying a street stock motor, has a pretty aggressive-ish cam in it that's made to make power throughout 3,000 to 6,000 RPM in that, wide open circle track range. So I figure we put these big giant heads on it with this cam. We rev this thing up, we get a good intake on it with a decent carburetor that can fill it up with gas. And I figure we're making between 450 and 500 horsepower. And then on top of that, I think we make that with the correct correct rear end ratio. And I mean, I think we're going, we're going partying. That's just me, and we'll see how this thing goes, but that's pretty much just what I wanted to cover before we get into the more complex parts of this build. I'm going to be bringing these heads over to my buddy's machine shop, where he's going to be decking them, cleaning them, doing all that, getting them straight, cleaning them even more than I cleaned them. And you'll also see him machining out intake manifold for us to get even more flow. And that stuff will be sick. When I get these heads back from him, I'm going to be putting on max output springs from Alex Parts with Mylodon valves, single groove valves, and prepping all those heads. And then obviously we're going to show when we put them on the car, get the thing running, get some headers on it, all that. And then before you know it, it'll be nice out again. We'll be able to take that thing down to Island Dragway and see how fast this thing can go. I got some pretty big goals here. We got another car. I've got a Buick Regal. It's got a 5.3 in it, TH400, the whole deal. That car is going to be another series going over the same thing about how to make a fast turbo LS car for under $8,000. But that's pretty much all I got. I'll show you guys these heads real quick, and then I might add in some footage of our car, but that's pretty much the baseline for this channel, this series, and all that. And I hope I get some people watching and sticking around, because hopefully this is going to be a real exciting journey. Building race cars, taking them to Island Dragway. And again, like I said, my real goal is to hopefully build a fleet of competitive cars, so that me and my buddy CJ and some of our other buddies can take these cars down to Island Dragway, rip them, get into some bracket racing, get into some other events they got going on there, and maybe even win some money, or make our own events down at the track. But that's all I got. And I'll show you these heads, and then that'll be it. All right, so like I said, I'll have a picture somewhere on the thumbnail of what these things looked like when I bought them. They were coated in rust, and they were dirty as hell. And I was gonna make a video about how to clean heads and taking them apart and all that. But after I took them apart and got to cleaning them, I realized that with these, they were just so dirty that I ended up using all of this, all of those aerosol cans, paint thinner, paint remover, the hose, everything. But I got them down to looking like this. And what I was talking about, them intake ports, look at that. Those things are freaking giant size. If you've ever seen big block heads, 350 heads, they're bigger than that, or the same size. This is a serious set of stock equipment. And I was able to recondition them down to this point. And like I'm saying, something like this, you could have spent $1,500 on, $1,000 on to get, trick flow or something similar to this. But the fact that you can go on Facebook, get a stock part for, hundreds of bucks, put it on there and make the same power, is why we're doing this. Because I'm trying to show that you can, you know, do some pretty crazy stuff and you know, jack some of these motors up real crazy style for not a lot of money if you buy the right stuff at the beginning. So, you know, hopefully, you know, the proof will be in the pudding after, but this is how they are looking going to the machine shop. And I'm about to take a ride over there and give them to my buddy so that he can make all the fixtures to hold them so that he can cut the heads and all that. And when I'm over there, I'll probably be able to show you guys the car and maybe even fire the thing up. So yeah. Here's the heads in the machine shop. All the stuff we got to use. Yeah, should be good. Alright, just to end off this video, I want to show what the car looks like and what we're working with. And just as it stands, this is it. It needs a lot of cleaning up, but you see what I was talking about with the whole interior. It's done up with the roll cage already. Steering wheel, all that. I don't want to pop the hood because it's raining, but man, we got a good piece right here. Yeah, so that's just where I'm gonna close it off. Hopefully make some good progress. I'll be able to show you the CNCing on these heads, and then I'll be able to put them all back together, put them on the car, and then next season we'll be able to get this thing running, put a tire on the back, and hopefully it'll be good to go.